piece of steel. It was a steel. Big old hunkin' Z24 GT Cavalier with a V8 in it. Yet again, I duped the folks into buying me a car. I was really clean and pristine with this car. For the longest time, I barely drink and drive with it. I didn't party.
On average, how often would you drink and drive with any of your cars?
What, how many times a week?
Or a month?
3 times a month. It was a week before Dan Pugsley's Halloween party. He was having a pre-party to invite people who weren't going to be able to go to the Halloween party, like his real good friends, people who were going to work and weren't be able to go. So he invited just like exclusive people, but there were still a good 40 people at his house. And earlier that day, though, at Oakland Mall, I had bought a shirt that on it was a t-shirt for $12 that said official beer drinking t-shirt. That was the t-shirt title. And I had bought the shirt thinking this will go great over at the party tonight, you know. Went over too well. It was a keg party. And I had drinking myself plenty of beer. And I did not sleep the night before because I stayed up all night and then drove to Oakland Mall that morning. And I had the day off. I remember that. I had the day off. I had to wait for Danny to get off work because I wasn't going to go there by myself, you know. We both got completely wasted. 4 o'clock in the morning rolls around. We've been drinking for 5 hours straight. I'm tired as hell. I didn't have sleep all night. And I remember this girl telling a story about when she was drunk and she was driving. She went on the wrong way in the expressway and a cop pulled her over and she got in trouble. And I'm like, man, you're stupid, you know, this and that. And you're like, how could you do that? What happened is not only was I so wasted that I didn't know that I was going the wrong way to my house, that I was actually going the other way. And the whole time, Danny's just like, man, you're not going the right fucking way. I'm like, shut up, man, shut up. So I'm driving, and I remember at one point he actually took the wheel and swerved because I almost hit a car. And I was like, I didn't think anything of it, you know, like I thought he was just being a jackass. So then I turned my CD player up a little bit, and I looked down and I'm playing with the CD player, and boom! I'm like, what the fuck? I look over, my mirror's gone on this side of the car. There's just an F-150 bed right where like Danny's head is on the outside of the window. And I went, oh man, at the time I didn't really care. I was so fucking wasted. I actually went, fuck it, dude, let's go bowling. I said that to Danny. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like, I don't know. You know, like I'm like trying not to laugh, even though I think it's like, even though I know I'm fucked. So then he's like, get the fuck out of here. So I push on my gas and I'm grinding my front wheel with the guy's back wheel on his truck. And it's just making smoke going all over the place. So I back up, I pull out, and I start driving again. And we don't pull over once. We don't look at the damage of the car or anything. All I know is that I can only see that I have one headlight now. My mirror on the right side is gone. And that's all I know. And there's smoke rising from the side of the car where the headlight's gone at. And I'm like, oh man, oh my God. I'm starting to freak out a lot. So I drive all the way on side streets, all the way back, make it all the way back to his house. We get out of the car, and I haven't seen the side of the car yet. The headlight's gone. The whole side of this car is smashed in and peeled all the way up to where the door of the passenger seat is. And I'm like, oh my God, my grill of my car is gone, the mirror on the side is gone, and there's a big blue streak all along the side because the fucking F-150 was blue. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm completely sobered up at this point. Like, but the thing is, not a single tire of mine is popped. So I can't tell my parents I fucking popped a tire and got in an accident. I can't even tell the cops I popped a tire and got in an accident. So I'm like, what the fuck can I do? It's 5 o'clock in the morning at this point. So I just drive home, and I park my car like 3 houses down with the bad side facing the other side of the street. And I go into my house, and I'm completely fucking wasted. And I knock on my parents' door, and I wake them up, and I said I got in a car accident. And they're like, are you alright? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. You know, I'm still I can still tell I'm slurring my words. Even though I've sobered up in my mind, my body doesn't know that I'm not fucked up, so I'm still fucking slurring all over the place. So I'm fucking like, yeah. So they're like, alright, just go to bed. Worry about it in the morning. So I got downstairs, about to go to bed, and I'm like, wait a minute, I still didn't pop a tire. So I grab a steak knife, out in the middle of the street, pop a tire with a steak knife. And it's fucking hard to pop a tire with a steak knife. The tire is thick as fuck. You cannot. I mean, it might seem easy in like a movie when someone goes, psh. I was sitting there going, drilling it in and stabbing it and going like that. It took me like 15 minutes just to pop the tire. So finally I popped it and it starts leaking. And I'm like, good. It looks like I popped my tire. But then I'm like, well, how am I going to explain this big old chunk out of my car? Like, what did I hit? So I grabbed bark from a tree and threw it into the thing like I hit a tree. I remember being really paranoid that the cops were going to find out. Like, really paranoid. Not only was I paranoid the cops were going to find out, but at the time, I was 18, so I was underage drinking, driving a car while intoxicated, on probation, with a suspended license, and the car wasn't registered to me. I remember the next day, my parents didn't say shit about it. They said your car's fucked up. That's it. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. We're not going to help you. We've helped you so many times with cars. They're like, your car is done. End of story. We're not mad, no matter what happened, this and that. And I tried to explain to them, like I was driving down a construction area. They're like, you're drunk. Okay? You crashed your car. We're not going to help you. And I remember I went to work, and then Chris came, and he had this crazy idea that we'd go look at the car that I crashed into on Barton, just in case it was there. Oh, and it was there. And we saw the back end of this guy's fucking truck, and it was completely smashed in. Like, totally wrecked. And I'm like, oh my God, like, holy shit. Like, I did a lot of damage. I probably did like $4,000 of damage to the back of his truck, because I probably fucked up his transmission and his fucking, like, muffler and everything. I probably fucked up everything. So, him and me were laughing, like it was funny, because I didn't get caught. So then I went home that night, and I constantly kept an eye on the car, thinking, like, I was totally paranoid, like, the cops were going to find out or something like that. Because, even though, like, your friends were like, don't worry, man, nothing's going to happen, no one will find out, this and that, and you're like, yeah, you're right. Sitting there watching TV, it's about 2:30 in the morning, I'm seeing lights outside. I'm thinking, what the fuck is that? It's not just a car driving down the street. I go up to my fucking blinds, and I open them up, and there's 3 cops standing around my car, taking pictures, looking at the fucking shit, like the bark, and they're picking it up and looking at it, and there's like 3 cop cars behind them, and they're all looking at it, and I'm thinking, oh fuck, I am totally fucked. I got so scared standing in my kitchen. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to jail. So I'm looking, and I'm looking, and I'm looking, and they're there for like 15 minutes. And finally I see one of them slap a sticker on the car. And they all get in their car and leave. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? What the hell's going on? So I run out and go to my car, and it says abandoned car. Will be towed within 4 days unless moved out of the street. So I'm like, that ain't bad. That's just, that's just that. So I'm like, I should scrap it. Get some money for it. Might as well. So I called at Chris Zinn's house. Let me call the wreckage place. And they didn't give me diddly squat for it. They just said, it's worthless, but we can tow it away for you for free. So I'm like, go ahead. I don't want it anymore. And then, I think like 3 or 4 days passed. My dad was sitting out there, and he didn't say anything to me, and he got up and he walked out. And then he came back, and he was like, oh, this came for you in the mail. And he tossed me this thing, which he had opened, that said, your car may have been involved in an accident at 4:30 in the morning on October 23rd. This and that, this and that, this and that. It says, contact me, this and that. It was the highway patrol chief of police there, and of traffic violations and everything else, hit and run. And he goes, yes, Garrett, thank you for calling. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, do you remember anything that happened? And I was like, I even told him over the phone, I'm like, I'm not going to say anything that's going to get me in trouble. Good move. And he goes, I understand that. He goes, but we're putting pieces together. We're putting 2 and 2 together, He goes, we have a headlight, a mirror, and a grill of a car. And I was like, ooh. But listen to this. And he was like, were you drinking that night? And I said, yes, I was. And he's like, hey, there's nothing I can do now after the fact. If you were drinking, you can tell me. And I said, then yeah, I was. All right, I'm going to have you come down here, and we're going to question you and stuff, everything like that. So I go down there, and I'm sitting there for a little while, and I'm talking to his assistant guy, and we're just bullshitting, talking and stuff. And he comes in, and he explained to me again that we have this and this and this, and we have the headlight and this, and we can match them if we want to. And I said, but I don't have the car anymore. And he goes, what? I said, I don't have the car. And he said, well, where'd it go? I'm like, the thing's been in wreckage for about a week and a half. And he went, okay, but do you remember getting into the accident? And I said, no, I don't. And he said, well, over the phone, you said that you would. I said, I don't remember the conversation over the phone. And I said, now, if you don't have any proof that matches my car, I hit a tree on the way home from my friend Al's house. And he said, oh, really? I said, yeah, over on 13 Mile on a street called New York. It's now off Masonic. I said, yeah, it's off Masonic, whatever. And he goes, okay, we'll have someone go investigate that. And I'm like, okay. And he said, we'll bring you back in for more questioning. And they never called me back. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? It's perfect. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
Did you ever feel bad about hitting that guy's car?
No, he was illegally parked on the street anyway, so he shouldn't have been out there. Should have been in his driveway. I never would have smashed into him. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I would hit his tree.